Okay, this is Dr. Sunday Adelaja, the one and only Dr. Sunday Adelaja. Welcome to the Tunji Offeyi show. We're glad to have you here today, man of God, and it's going to be really a day of talk with a man like you. It's only expected to be so. Sir, do you want to just give us a little intro, just for
Yes,
someone? So I don't know who is Sunday Adelaja. I don't know him.
yes. My name is Sunday Adelaja, like you have said. I was born 55 years ago in Nigeria, and I left Nigeria when I was 19. I've been in Europe since then. For 36 years, I've been living in Europe, mainly in the eastern part of Europe, in Russia, Belarus, and the latter years in Ukraine. I was a journalist. Initially, I studied journalism and then practiced by working in the television station, then the newspapers. Then later on, I became a pastor in Ukraine. And God bless the work. Our church grew, became the largest church in the continent, the largest evangelical church in the country, and then in Europe. And yeah, things have been going on very well. We have over 700 churches in Ukraine, about 1,000 churches all over the world in
Wow.
50 countries,
Wow.
written over close to 500 books in Russian and in English.
Wow. That's a lot to take in, man
Yeah.
of God. Okay. Dr. Sunday Adelaja, the one everybody talk about today, we all know you. But like you said, you came from Nigeria. So obviously you have a humble beginning like most people, if I'm right. So how does it feel when you were 19 and you won that scholarship that took you to eastern part of Europe, like you already told us? Did you ever think while you were winning the scholarship that you would then end up having the largest evangelical church someday?
Um, when I was in Nigeria, I grew up in a very humble home because when I was 6, that's another story for another day. A tragedy struck. We lost all the breadwinners in our family. So from
Wow.
that age of 6, I experienced a high level of poverty, so much that I didn't wear shoes till I was about 12 years old. I managed to pass through secondary school thanks to free education, and as a result, even though I finished my WAEC and did well in this the something, and I also did JAMB, that is to get admission at university. I got one of the best results in my faculty, in my department. I was admitted to study theater arts in University of Ife. I had the best result actually in that year, but I couldn't even afford to go to that school because even though I live just like 2 hours drive from that place, I live in Ijebu, Ogun State, but
Yep.
to travel to Ibadan, later to Ife, I couldn't even get the transport money. Can you imagine? I mean, things were so bad. Even to give my exam, the WAEC exam, I mean, it was maybe 20 years later that I got to discover who paid the WAEC fee, which was 50 naira at that time. I couldn't even pay. They wanted to chase me out of the exam hall. Like then I heard somebody, a distant friend, I didn't even know who did it, that they allowed me in. Somebody had paid. It was 20 years later that I discovered who paid that money.
Wow.
So to dream that I will become who I became,
Yeah.
I knew I would become successful, but I didn't know I could become this successful because when I was finishing high school, at first, in my early years in secondary school, I was not doing well. But towards the end of my secondary school years, I became very, very serious and I saw myself doing so well. And I was thinking before that because I'm from a poor family, that I would never be able to do well or compete with other people who are doing well, and that it's just my destiny, it's my fate. But later on, God used my sister who got born again to inspire me and tell me that no, you could become the head and not the tail. So I believe that. I began to work hard. Then I discovered all of a sudden that all these people I was looking at as genius, that nobody is a genius, they were just working hard. So I began to work hard just 1 year before the end of my secondary school. And by the time I finished the secondary school, from being average student of 10th position, 9th position. I went and finished. Only one person did better than me. Why? I did better than everybody else. All the people I was idolizing. So that gave me the faith that I could actually. So I have some capacity in me. Then when I did the WAEC and became the third best in the University of Ife, they had maximum mark of 400, and I was almost going to that 300 and something. I said, wow, so I could be good like this. Then when I won the scholarship, we had 300,000 people competing for 300 places, 1,000 person for a place or 100 person for a place. So it was so difficult. But I got admitted. I discovered that, hey, you know what? Things are possible. So maybe I'm not as bad as I thought. So that gave me the faith and the belief that maybe because of God that I've come to accept, but somehow I have some capacity and some potential to excel in Europe. But I didn't also want to go to Europe and become an average. So I told myself that if I'm going to go to Europe or to even, from where I'm coming from, it doesn't just make any sense to be an average student or to be average in anything. So I said, if I could survive in Domila, that is the name of my village near Ijebode. If I could survive and come out of that place, then the only thing I could negotiate for is to become the best in everything I did.
It has to
So
be
that's what I did. And it has worked out because when I started studying with my university people, the people were coming from 99 countries, and they were the best from all countries on scholarship. And I started very slow. I was one of the worst at first, because my standard was not as good as theirs.
Sorry, sir. Let me just, sorry to stop you there, sir. Let me, because I don't want to forget this question, because as you were speaking, I pick up the questions. So one thing I noticed from your trajectory, as you've been saying it, most of the time you always start slow before you later blow out.
Yes.
So I would like you to, just before we move to our next question, which I didn't plan for this question, is do you have something to tell parents? Because I know there will be many parents watching this who probably have given up on their children, or maybe they bought the WAEC form for 3 times, 4 times. They are getting frustrated. So what do you want to tell them from your own experience so far, if there's really hope for them?
There is hope. I couldn't read or write till I was 10 years old. So I started really slow. But they started teaching me to read and write when I was 6 from primary 1. They were showing me pictures like a cat. They would say, this is a cat, read it, cat. And then they would say tree, they say read it. But I couldn't read. I could see when I could say it, but I couldn't combine the words. So until I was 10 years old, it was only when they kept on promoting me somehow, I don't know. But when I was 10 years old, something just clicked in my head. I discovered that the way they were teaching me was totally different from the way the method of teaching was totally different from the way I didn't know there are different ways of assimilation or comprehension of subjects. So the way they were teaching me, for example, they would tell me first, they said A, B, C, D, okay? Then when they get to father, they will say father. I said, it cannot be father because TH, you said this was T and H. Where are those words? Where did they disappear to? So, but you told me it was H. So I didn't hear H in father. I can't hear, So I was always, it doesn't make sense to me what they were telling me to do. And I was always, saying, but you said this was E, this was A, but now you combine it together, it became something else. So
Yeah.
I was using my own logic inside. I discovered later on that there are different ways for people to learn. So in my own case, I couldn't learn the way I was being taught that particular time. My own way of thinking is through critical thinking. But the way they were
Even at
teaching
that
me,
age. Yeah.
yes, to question everything and to really understand. I needed to understand why it's like that. But they don't want me to understand why. They were telling me to just believe it.
Yeah.
Accept it, yes. And I ran into trouble with that. So, but later on, I caught up. Then in university, I came late. In university, I was 12 years old. I started late as well. I went to university, not university, secondary school at 12 years old. I was already able to read, but then I met guys who are who introduced me to good life, like having girlfriends and going to party and things. So I was carried away by those things, and I didn't know that you have to study. I thought I was just you just go and give exams. I didn't have the culture of coming back from class and studying every day. The culture that because I grew up with my grandmother, after class, I was going to go to the bush to get firewood and things. So I was not doing anything like studies after school.
Academically, yeah.
Academically. So I didn't know it was necessary. And I didn't know that the people who were doing well were doing that. I thought it's just exam, because in primary school, you just go to exams and give exams. So the secondary school, I was doing the same thing. And until it was very late before I could catch up. Then in university also, there are always one thing or the other, because in university, I came 2 weeks late from Nigeria because I couldn't find money for ticket. So, and we had to write to the scholarship board. Then those people had to write to Russia. Maybe they could give me tickets and things, because the scholarship was not supposed to be with tickets first. Then they agreed. Then they sent ticket. Before all that happened, the students were already studying. School was going on. By the time I came, I was the worst. They were already reading the thing. I didn't even know one word in the language. So I started late as well. So, but don't give up on anybody. I couldn't read or write till I was 10.
Wow. That's some story. Well, bless you, man of God. Well, everything paid off in the long run.
And I didn't speak English till
Oh,
I left Nigeria.
wow.
But in
Wait,
Nigeria, everybody speaks English, so to say. But I
yes.
went to such a local school, Idomila High School, village school, that not to speak vernacular is when you speak Yoruba. Normally, I just speak Ijebu, and we just speak Ijebu in our place. So that
Not
is
even you.
vernacular. So not to speak vernacular is to speak Yoruba. So, and then, but I could give exams, English exams in the classroom. I understood it in my mind, in my head, but we are not speaking it. I only remember speaking English one time when I met a white person who was our relative, and I spoke to her. He was asking, "What's your plan?" I just answered. It's one statement or one sentence. Or I never spoke it but I knew it in my mind, but I never spoke. Only when I left Nigeria, I started speaking English.
The confidence wasn't there. Yeah.
Yes, and no practice.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting story. I think there's more to talk about today. Sir, I'd like to ask you a question. We're moving a little to Ukraine. I know most of our viewers are impatient now. They will saying, "Oh, want to hear something about Ukraine." So in 2009, there was a prophecy in your church about a religious attack from Russia to Ukraine, which you interpreted. Someone else was prophesying, but you were able to break it down and interpret it. Did that come to pass? I'm not
Well,
talking about. Yeah.
it was supposed to be a war, right?
You said the man was given the prophecy. I didn't understand the language, but you interpreted it in English to say there's going to be a spiritual attack, not the conventional war that we
Oh,
see.
okay.
So that it will be a war against the church in Ukraine. Did that come to pass from Russia?
Yes. What that meant was that the attack, the war that was coming, was going to be based mainly to the purpose of it is to destroy the church. That
Yes.
it is not just a physical war, but it's going to be a spiritual war, and the goal of it is to stop the revival and destroy the church. That was the place where it was coming from.
So did it come to pass?
Yes, yes. It came to pass, and it was very tragic. The war started against the church before the real physical war came. And yeah, people who know our story know that we have been in that war for the past 6 years.
This prophecy, is it also able, I mean, can we link it to the issue with the Orthodox churches in Russia and Ukraine? Because I
Yeah,
think they as well. Is it connected?
yes, it's also connected. It became like a civil war between the churches, the Russian Orthodox Church and the Ukraine Orthodox Church, to the extent that they have to break away and deny themselves brotherhood. And then, the presidents got involved. It was bad.
weren't you able to pray against the prophecy coming to pass? I'm not a pastor, but I just want to.
That is a good question, because when this was all going on and these prophecies were coming, one of the reasons why I personally didn't believe that it was going to really lead to a physical war like this is that we had prayed. I thought we had prayed. Since we have prayed, then everything is okay now, because 1 year passed, nothing, we didn't see anything. Second year passed, we didn't see anything. We are seeing the spiritual war, but that is okay. But we never knew it will really get to physical war, because we had prayed. And second year, third year, fourth year, no war. So we had just relaxed and thought nothing will happen.
But here we are. We'll get into more details about that. So I want to ask, because I'm half Ijebu myself, so I understand the meaning of your language, your name, Adelaja, which means the crown has come to separate the fight. We just interpret it in a simple way like that. So do you see yourself as a non-state actor being able to mediate between Russian Federation and Ukraine, if called upon to do so?
As non-state actor, yes, I've been playing some important role. Actually, it's good you mentioned that, because I was actually invited to be one of the people to mediate between the Israeli government and the Palestinians in 2007. And I was there in the Israeli Knesset to speak with them, and we formed a committee. I played that role before, but in this case, I cannot, because the Russian government and Mr. Putin himself recognized me as a dangerous, as a dangerous, no, as a dangerous influence, as a dangerous influence. That's how they call it, and they think that I bring Western values and culture of freedom that is not acceptable to the Russian Federation. So they declared me actually as persona non grata,
Yeah.
and and as an enemy of the Russian state. So
Yeah.
which automatically removes me from being or playing the role of mediation.
So you think even if the Ukrainian wants you at the table, you'll be more of a problem than a solution, because
Yes, yes. And that's one of the reasons why I had to leave, because our Ukrainian side of the government told me that, they know that I am on that list, that it's better I leave. So that's what I
so
did.
was that why they allow you to go, because they wanted men of fighting age to stay behind, which I think
Yes.
you fall
No,
in.
they also allow me to go because, even though I've been living in Ukraine most of my life, but I didn't take their citizenship. I am only a permanent resident, but if I had taken their citizenship, I should have remained, possibly. But maybe because of my status, they will let me go. But normally, if you are a citizen, you are supposed to remain. But if you don't have their citizenship, then you can leave.
You can go to your country. So
Yes, you can go out of the country.
yeah, yes. Does that mean you had a foresight of all this coming?
No, I didn't have a foresight, frankly speaking. I had a dream about the same time those people, after that prophecy you are talking about was in 2009, but I had a dream in 2014 that something like that was going to happen, and that the Russians were going to invade. I even saw them invading my house, the church, taking over everywhere. But I also thought, okay, let's pray about it. I spoke to the church. We all prayed for about 1 year, and we thought everything is over. So I forgot about that. I thought it would never happen. Forget about it. But even when Americans were coming to say this was going to happen, Russians are going to invade, we are saying, no, it's not going to happen. I never had really premonition of it.
Wow, amazing. So I wanted to know, because you said you have some intelligence from the United States, the America,
Yes, yes.
about Mr. Putin being after you. Are you really safe where you are now?
No, it's not safe for me to say that, but I would say that I'm out of Ukraine.
So let's say you are to some extent out of danger. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So let's move a little bit back to your home country, Nigeria, which is also my own country. So during the last election, you were rooting for President Buhari as your candidate. So far, there's kidnapping in Nigeria, There's poverty at like never seen before. All these things you can see for yourself. I don't need to like bring them up again or one by one marshal them out. No, you can. We all know what's going on. So having seen how bad things are, were you happy you endorsed him? Number one. Number two, are you comfortable now rooting for Osinbajo, who you also endorse as president this time around? Two in one question, sir.
I don't regret endorsing Buhari because I think the alternative would have been worse for the country. The second person, the person who came second in that vote was the first one was the sitting president that time, Jonathan, who I knew. I met him, I prayed with him, I sat with him several times, and I knew that he was clueless. He was too weak. He's not a leader. So I knew that if he was to remain there, we will not have Nigeria the way we have it now. Nigeria will have disintegrated. So, but I didn't know Atiku very well, but from the studies that I did about him and from the much that I knew about him, I know that man should never be accepted to become the president of Nigeria. So it's just choosing out of the two. Out of the two people that we had at each time, I saw that Buhari was much more preferable. So that's why I supported him. Now, I don't know who to support yet this time. It depends on who the parties will present. But normally I don't support the small parties that don't have any chance. Some people will say, okay, why don't support the new ones? They don't have the infrastructure. They're not going to even get 1% of the vote. Why should I waste my energy supporting them? I would rather support people who stand a good chance of winning. So it's going to be between the person that is presented by PDP and the person that is presented by APC. I will have to look at their caliber and then make my choice.
So there's still plenty of time to decide on that.
Yes, we don't know yet who will match.
So you mentioned something just now about Atiku. You just glossed over it quickly. Are you comfortable, analyzing him more because he's still coming around again?
Yes.
You're uncomfortable with him. Why?
Because first of all, what Obasanjo said about him, and which he also didn't really deny what Obasanjo said about him. He was still going to that same Obasanjo to look for his support. So, which tells me that that man is a dangerous man. You don't allow a thief to look after your bank account. So that one is already a damaging characteristic. Number two, he said he was working as a custom officer. So how did you become from going from a custom officer to become a multi-billionaire? And then number three, the United States indicted him, and I read the whole indictment online. That he was corrupt, that he brought corruption to the government of Obasanjo. Even Obasanjo, people are accusing him of being corrupt. Even he himself said this for his own corruption is too much. So
another level.
Yeah, another level. So that just makes me to know that no, we cannot go back to those years
again. You made a point that he didn't really deny it. I think that's the one to underline, because if somebody call you a thief and you still going back to that same person to endorse you, where's your anger? At least just a little. There was no anger. Yeah. But one thing again that Alhaji Atiku might want to take you on is that if he's so much a thief indicted by America, like you said, you read online, how come he later visited the United States last year and he was not arrested or put in prison?
Yes, because there was an arrangement done. I even know the way it was done. I even know the people who did it for him. It's a lobbying organization that was welcoming. It was not the one that was being welcomed. It was under protection. It was the president, the Senate Speaker of the House in Nigeria, who was Saraki that time. He was a speaker. He was going and had entourage. That's the way they arranged it. He had his entourage. So he was under immunity, and he was coming as a member of his entourage. That's why they couldn't touch him. But he couldn't go to speak in the parliament. He couldn't going to speak in the Congress. Even me, I've spoken in the Congress, and I've spoken in the Senate, and I'm not even a presidential candidate. But normally, if he was going to be welcome as an individual, he would have been on another level, not just accompanying somebody.
The Senate President.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's leave Atiku matter to something more serious now. Although Atiku matter too is serious because it's all national issues, but this is more important because you wrote an essay sometimes ago about Nigeria. So you are now in that essay. I really enjoyed it. You were arguing that we don't need strong leaders in this world. If we are to be strong leaders, Napoleon in the past, you gave those example, Stalin, Hitler, all of them, is either they kill them or something bad. No matter how people adulate them initially, it always ended as a case of Hosanna today, crucifixion tomorrow. So to cut it short now, what you did in that essay was you were now canvassing for value system instead. Giving an example that in America, in the Western world, even if they have the weakest president, their system never breaks down. Do you want to please elaborate on this? That's why I say it's very important because in Nigeria, some people say it's Tinubu, they are looking for Jagaban. Some people said it's Oshimbajo, but you just dismiss all that. It's a waste of time, people chasing shadows. Man of God, please elaborate further on that.
How did you see that article? Where?
It was on your website, it's part of the research. So,
Wow, that was a long time I wrote that, a long
yeah,
time ago. That is commendable of you that you are able to find that.
thank you.
Well, that is my core belief system in relations to leadership in Nigeria. But my Nigerian people have not heard me. You are the first person that I know who has responded to that article the way you have responded.
Thank you.
Who even took cognizance of it. And what I normally say is that the problem of Nigeria, the main problem of Nigeria is not leadership. But no Nigerian wants to hear that. What do you mean? Everybody believes that our main problem is leadership. And I said, leadership is also a problem, but it's not number one problem. I said, for example, let's imagine having a glass or a cup. If you have a cup and you have a white substance, white ink inside that cup, or a black ink. Let's start with the black one. Let's say you have a black ink there, and then in the cup, but then you have 10 or 5 balls, little balls, table tennis balls, and those table tennis balls, you put them and sink them, soak them in the ink, in the
Yeah.
black ink that is in that cup. What color would they come out with? After when you bring them out, what color would they have? They will become black, isn't it? Because the black ink would have painted them black. I said, good. I said that is how Nigeria is. The environment, the atmosphere in that cup, that is the whole country, you could say, the value system of our country. When the value system is wrong and is, is evil, and that is the mindset of people, the way they think everything is going to the government to take advantage. So even it doesn't matter how white the thing that you had, the balls you had initially were, but because they are in that environment, everything they become black. I said so, but then in Europe it's like the opposite. That cup is full of white ink. The atmosphere, the environment itself, even if you are corrupt, by the time you join the system, Nigerians now who are corrupt, they come to Europe, but they have to follow the traffic rules, they have to follow the business rules, they have to, because the whole environment itself is white. Even if you are black and they put you in that ink, by the time you come out, it will become white because the whole environment is white. So I said, yes, there might be bad leaders also in Europe, but what we need to concern ourselves more about in Nigeria is about changing the value system of our people. Right now, in Nigeria, for example, what people are mostly after is you must make it by all means, money. So money rituals are coming out. People could kill one another for money, and that even ordinary people who are not politicians. So why are you talking to me about politicians? Even ordinary people, even market women, everybody wants to just make it, and they will do anything. They will even mix the whatever they are selling with something else to just to. So everybody is corrupt. The whole value system is corrupt in the society. So it doesn't matter who the president you are going to get is from that same, as long as it's in that value system, that society that is say is driven by just making a take advantage of another person. Just even your own relatives, you will send money to them. That value system is what creates them. Everybody is thinking the same. As long as that value system is black in that old place where they are all in, either you have to take somebody from outside that didn't grow up in that value system, that is coming with fresh ideas, then you can say you need a leader. But what we really need is to turn our old something all around, our value system all around, and say great nations are built by great values. Nations are not great by the virtue of their wealth, but nations are great by the virtue, by the wealth of their virtues. It is the wealth of virtues that growth nations. Is not the virtue of wealth. You know, we have wealth, we have raw materials, we have intelligent people, but those things are not things that create great nations. Great nations are created by how great their values are. So I said, let's come up with 10 or 20 values that are responsible for greatness of nations. Work ethics, diligence, honesty, integrity. Let's come up with some things like this. Let's now, inculcate those values into the mindset of people from primary school to our pulpit, to our educational system, to our Hollywood and Nollywood media and entertainment industry. Let's put it in the mosque, everywhere. Let's change the value system fundamentally of what we believe, what motivates us, what are the things we value most. If we will be able to do that, change the value system of the country, then all the people who are, it doesn't matter who become president again. Anybody that is raised up in those value systems, they will just be right for you. Just like when you go, I ask people, tell me 10 presidents of Europe. We have 50 countries in Europe. Tell me 10. You cannot even mention 2 or 3. It doesn't matter who is the president. The value system produces anybody. And anybody it produces will be right, because the whole environment, the whole value system, the whole structure, the whole system is already put in place to promote integrity, to promote values are the things that really matter. So, but that is what I don't hear people talk about in my country. People are always looking for one Messiah, one man that we must elect, that will come and do everything right. Whereas everybody under him is rotten. Just like now, when it comes to integrity and moral values, I think that Buhari is probably the best we've ever had. But still, it's not affecting everybody. The country is getting rotten. Because you alone, being a good person or being a moral person, doesn't change anything in the society if you don't focus on changing intentionally the value system purposefully. Just for you being all right, even if it's Jesus Christ, the holiest of men, that become the president of Nigeria today, the people with the same value system, they will kill him again. They will not allow him to try it because of the value system that we got wrong.
Wow, that's just the truth. Because if the value system is not working, there's just nothing one person can change or do. For instance, in the UK now where I live, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson is being investigated by the police because the system is working. Who can investigate Buhari or even governors?
Because the society itself, the value system of the society is so right that it will correct, even if the wrong person comes there. The value system will not tolerate it. The value system itself that is already right will pull him out of the system. But in our own place, even if you are right, the value system itself will kill you.
It's just, it's too much. We can go on. I think this like it's even more of a topic for symposium discussion in the future.
But you are so deep for you to have entertained this, for you to have even, noticed that. Because I wrote a whole book on this subject. It's called Nigeria and the Leadership Question. But people don't try to get, maybe because you have lived in Europe or because you of the society, you are living in, you understand what I'm trying. It's like you are in the same, you know exactly what I'm saying. But I can't just communicate it to my Nigerian people. They don't get it.
If you don't read books, it's a problem. That's part another matter in our society. We have to read because they say leaders are readers anyway. and they want to lead, but they don't want to read to begin with. So it's another matter entirely. In fact, sir, I think it's better we just leave Nigeria matter for now. It's so complex, and I know your most of our viewers now. The burning issue is Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. So I seek your permission to just let's come back to Ukraine. So now, in the news recently, we see the resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces. They are retaking captured territories and all that. Do you think, in the long run, it's going to be you'll be able to sing Slava Ukraini? Over to
To
you.
speak our language.
Yeah, I try to pick your head.
Yeah, well, my heart really wants to do that. My heart wants Ukraine to win. I mean, I've not even been able to see my room or my bedroom or my bed or my bathroom, my house, my street, for 36 years. I've been living there. So I want to see that again. I want to see the victory of Ukraine. That's my heart. But my head, being a logical person, and I think it's a tall order.
Mm.
It's a tall order. We need a miracle to be able to win that war. Russia is much more stronger than us. If no matter the kind of losses we inflict on them, if God doesn't intervene or communication or negotiation doesn't stop it, they will eventually break the resistance down.
I watched your video you did, I think, 4 days ago, and you had concern about this chemical weapons, nuclear weapon, and all that being used, which American intelligence is also supporting. But President Biden made a strong warning for the first time, because every time he keeps saying NATO is not going to get involved, but he said they will retaliate in kind. What will be the implication of this? Without repeating what he said.
It will be Third World War, and that will really escalate the whole situation. And it's not just being the Third World War is the most terrible thing, but whenever they begin to use those chemical weapons, and you can't control them. Chemical weapon or nuclear weapons, they mix with the atmosphere. They mix with oxygen that you breathe. There's no escape from it for anybody. It goes to the whole world. And air, oxygen goes to the whole world. You can't stop it. Otherwise, nobody will breathe. Yeah. And if people stop breathing, they die. So that is what makes this dangerous. And it could, if it escalates to that extent of people retaliating, it will just destroy our world. Nobody can win.
We just pray it doesn't get to that. It's better imagine. Even talking about it will make someone cringe. So I don't want people watching this to, get disturbed by this, but it's a reality anyway. So we pray, like you said, it won't get to that extent. So let's discuss a little regional politics, which is connected to all this at the same time. Recently, President Zelensky of Ukraine criticized his counterpart, Viktor Orban of Hungary, that is not doing enough, is not allowing weapons to come in through Hungary and all that, no support. And we all know Orban is a friend of Putin, at least before all this. So then Orban replied that Hungary will not pay the price of Ukraine's war. Do you think that's a kind statement?
I think as much as that position is so uncomfortable and unpleasant to me as somebody coming from Ukraine,
yeah,
I would say that is the right position, because if he begins to meddle in it and Russia strikes him and he is a member of NATO, that will make NATO to be involved in the whole conflict. And if that happens, it will still lead to that same destructive end that we all don't want. So it's a very difficult situation. On one hand, we want Ukraine to win and we want everybody to come in and intervene and help Ukraine. But we don't want it to escalate to when it becomes a whole world war. Right now, you sitting in your house in England, you will not be able to sit there again. You'll be hiding under a ground or somewhere. Nobody will be. So one country that is suffering, the suffering of one country could become the suffering of the whole world. We don't want that to happen. That is this. Even though I want things to stop, I want Ukraine to win, but I also think about the consequences that could happen if it escalates.
It's the bitter reality. Dr. Adelaja, is that what you're saying?
That is where we are right now.
Okay. I see you getting a bit emotional about it, so
yeah.
I won't push it too further. So lastly, President Zelensky has been very heroic, have been applauded all over the world. Do you have any word of encouragement for him? And by and large, your fellow Ukrainians, what's your word of encouragement for them at this trying time as we close the show?
I really want to commend President Zelensky because he has not been bitter. He has not been he has not really exercised some of the bitterness I see with ordinary Ukrainians. He's still keeping humanity. He's still trying his best to remain, a human being, to still have some values. But ordinary Ukrainians are really angry, and they want to hate Russians. They want to hate their president, their country. They are angry. They are frustrated. So what I would say is that despite the pain that we're all going through, we should still manage to put in common sense. Even to President Zelensky, the pressure that he's putting on NATO and America for them to come and intervene and close the airspace and things, we know that could lead to escalation that will go beyond the control of anybody. So even like England really supports us, but they said, no, we don't want to come into direct confrontation with Russia. We don't want that to happen. And there is a reason why they are saying that, but everybody in Ukraine is angry at NATO, at America, that they are not coming in to fight. But it's not wise. Emotionally, we want that to happen. But if you put in some logic, it's not wise. So let us just go through our pain and try to do what we could do to win. And let's pray that God's will and comes to pass at the end of the day.
Dr. Sunday Adelaja, thanks for coming on the Tunji Offeyi show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.